Hello and welcome to today's session on how to build online communities by crafting compelling stories. My name is Xenia Pola. I'm the head of education and legacy program here at ECA, and I'm joined today by my two colleagues, our North and Latin American and Caribbean regional directors. Before I ask them for a quick introduction, I wanted to share just and set the scene of why we are setting this session up. It is part of our new series ECA would like to create for our audiences and engage more. So we are literally showcasing how we are building online communities through content. And it is a series of how to. And today we are starting with our digital presence and online communities. Without further ado, I would like to invite my two colleagues, Andres and Jose, to say a few words of welcome to you. We will be having questions, and we will be encouraging also once our speakers are on stage to share your questions, whether it's on YouTube or on LinkedIn. Wherever you're watching us, we are welcoming you to join us and share your shout outs as well as questions. Andres, over to you.
Thank you, Xenia, for that intro. Buenos días a todos los que nos escuchan from Latin America, the Caribbean, and of course, North America. I just want to say from my end that we're very excited for this joint initiative between the North American and the Latin American and Caribbean chapter. I think this is way overdue, and now we're going to start doing more things. This content, as Xenia was mentioning, was specifically designed understanding one of the biggest opportunities that our members have, whether if they're a destination, a venue, a provider, or any type of organization. Right now, we need to be competitive when it comes to digital marketing and everything that has to do with digital channels. So I think it's going to be very interesting. We have some great moderator and some great members sharing their expertise. So this is really the core of ECA. I mean, our community, it's our competitive advantage. And this is what we want to do. We want to share, we want to exchange best practices and see whatever works perfectly for our type of destination. So thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to head over the word to Jose. Welcome, Jose.
Good morning and welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. A special welcome to our members in Canada, in the United States, and Mexico. I recently joined ECA, and I am very proud to be serving the organization and all of you. As Andres stated, these types of initiatives focused on education really distinguish us as an association, and we understand the importance of digital marketing and social media extensions. And we really think that events like this, where people get to share best practices, where we get to share with one another what we're doing right and what we're doing and to figure out what would work better, are important initiatives. So we're excited to do more of these. We look forward to doing it not only as a region, but also joint regional campaigns, which we think are important. Sometimes what works well in Charlotte might also work well in Cartagena. So we think that that's important to be sharing those types of ideas. Thank you all again for joining, and we look forward to your input, especially as our colleagues begin speaking shortly.
Thank you both. And before we get started with our session, just a couple of shout outs. Thank you, Stephanie Lynch, who's our North America chapter chair, for watching and looking forward to the session. And our dear friend Eduardo is sending his greetings. And thank you so much for your kind words and sharing that we are a great team and we have great members to support us as well. Before we get started, I also wanted to quickly share that we have live translation available today. So anybody who wants to test our worldly QR code is available here in written and audio format. So I encourage you to scan the QR code, and I will put the QR code back very quickly. In the meantime, I'm just going to invite my moderator on stage. Please help me welcome Sean Cheng, who is going to moderate today's session, pulling from the wealth of his expertise in digital marketing, event planning, and also has been working with a destination in the past. Welcome, Sean, and thank you for moderating today's session.
Thank you, Senya, for having me. And hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are tuning in today. My name is Sean. My pronouns is he, his, and him. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. And long story short, I'm a planner. But have the fortune to be engaged with ICA community for many years now, and so thanks so much for having me. For anyone who tune in, please welcome to put in the comments whether you are coming from, whether you're seeing this from LinkedIn or YouTube. Let us know where you are watching it from, and let us know where where you're from as well. So first of all, I think today's session is about online community, and is about how digital storytelling can support and enhance the messaging each destination or the convention bureaus would like to achieve to their target audience. So we are very fortunate to have actually two guests who, one coming from the destination background and one coming from the venue background. But both can we will talk about their success story within their respective destination and how they leverage that to achieve their goals. And so first of all, I would like to introduce Diana Rodriguez, who is the General Manager from the Cartagena Convention Center. And then the second guest is Kara Motley, who is the Senior Vice President of Convention Sales at the Greater Miami Convention Visitor Bureaus. And so, Diana, would you like to maybe starting with just a quick introduction about yourself? And beside the traditional introduction, I also would like to ask you a question. Please also tell the guests tea or coffee or water. What's the first drink you will have in the morning?
Cafe. Cafe,
Obviously.
for sure. Colombian coffee. Good morning. Hola. Hello to everybody. I'm Diana Rodriguez. I am actually from Cartagena de Indias, and I have the honor to be the general manager for the Cartagena de Indias Convention Center. I've been working at the venue for 12 years now. Since 2011, I joined the team as sales and marketing director. Since 2018, I've had the pleasure to be the general manager. I've been in different areas of, today I represent also the Latin American and Caribbean region on the ICA board. Very proud to say that on my second term, actually. Very happy to be here. This is actually the first of a series of initiatives that ICA is pushing forward. So very happy to be sharing some thoughts and ideas today with Carol and Sean.
Thank you, Diana. Carol, would you like to quickly introduce yourself as well? And also tea, coffee, or water?
Ooh, absolutely. Good morning to everyone. And right now, water. I switched from coffee to water now first thing in the morning. Good morning, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here representing sunny Miami. Welcome from sunny Miami. I'm the Senior Vice President of Convention Sales and Services for the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. We rejoined ICA this year, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here kind of telling our story on how we're rebranding ourselves in a way, and all of the rich storytelling that we're using through digital marketing right now to tell that story. So excited for this conversation and excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And before we jump start, just want to also shout out to Morgan from Vancouver, and then also Matthias, who's calling from Europe. Thanks for joining us today. Let's just get started, as this session is really about how to, right? So let's just dive right in. I would like to actually starting with Carol, if you can kind of share with us kind of the Miami story and what are the things that you guys are cooking this year and that you would like to share specifically.
Absolutely. So it's actually a very interesting year for us. I feel like post-COVID, we are really, truly rebranding the market, especially on the meeting side. At leisure, we've always been known as that leisure destination, but now it's really our time to get out there and tell our story behind what we can offer, how we can creatively fuse, that leisure, the meeting into being here in this market. So rich storytelling for me is really the name of the game right now. And I know we talked and we have got a new brand campaign that we're running called Find Your Miami. So it was interesting how this came about, as we have an entire marketing department that we work with, and I work very closely with them on what words and what marketing they are putting forth in front of our clients, specifically on the meeting side. And so right now, the Find Your Miami campaign is looking at that consumer that wants to come to Miami to meet, but also they want to weave in some of the things that we have to offer, like our Michelin-starred restaurants or our venues or our rich neighborhoods, if you will. So it's playing on those words, and you can actually visit the website, but it's playing on a lot of words like spavention. Come here, hold your convention, and then go to a great spa, either before or after. Some of the other words are brain sanding. Once you've been in a meeting all day using, that very vital brain, go to the sand, go to the beach afterwards and spend some time there. So that's our current promotion that we're running right now. But I did want to, if I have a minute, highlight on a very successful campaign that we just finished running, which was our Rainbow Spring. And this hits more on the leisure side. So that Rainbow Spring campaign runs January through March every year, and we run it in conjunction with Expedia, and it's hitting the LGBTQ community. That program alone, over just those 3 months where we wanted to highlight that time, did over 30,000 room nights. It was extremely popular through Expedia and our website. So again, we're really pushing that Find Your Miami, and that's been our main campaign that we're running right now. So.
And before we kind of go to Deanna to share with the story Cartagena are running, Carol, may I just kind of expand a little bit that on the Find Your Miami campaign, because you mentioned earlier that Miami was famous for the leisure, which is I think everyone is agree for. So can I kind of like just safely assume that kind of the strategy behind the Find Your Miami campaign is actually leverage that everyone's understand and the strong leisure aspect of Miami destination, but just simply tag that into the business aspect, which is more like toward that where you have the meeting or have the business here, this is the other things you can do, and therefore you should come. Is this kind of the right assumption?
Absolutely correct. And again, we don't want to take away from that leisure. We are who we are, and we know that we are a huge leisure destination, but Miami also means business. We mean business when it comes to the meetings and convention space. And that's where we're leveraging this Find Your Miami campaign, because this Find Your Miami is really leisure driven, but then we added in, we said, how can we fuse the meetings and conventions into that campaign? And again, it's really designed to help our visitors rediscover why they like coming here, and then giving them a greater reason on the meetings and convention side to discover it, leisure, but you can also really do a lot of great business while you're here, while experiencing some of those other aspects.
So I think here is actually a really good kind of a pause as kind of one key takeaway here for basic, I would say everyone kind of on the call, especially all the destination partner here, is looking at what your strengths are. right? Like I think Miami's strength is very obviously, but like right now we have the call from Edmonton, from Vancouver, from Cancun. Actually, thanks for joining us, Monica. You all have actually your strong suit in terms for the destination. Maybe it's also leisure, maybe it's your educational power, right? So like when you're crafting your digital marketing campaign or thinking about the strategy on storytelling of your destination, actually looking at what you are good at or famous for, and just simply how you can enhance or building on top of it. I feel that's just kind of a very successful case that Miami just did.
Of course, thank you.
Deanna, well, let's kind of moving to you because I think Cartagena have been running very successful story, I would say, for the past few years. For everyone who's on the call, if you can share with us if you actually at the ICCA Congress a couple of years ago at Cartagena, and what's your experience was. I think that would be a good engagement right now. But Deanna, tell us a little bit about what you guys have been doing, because I know from a venue perspective, you're probably not the one who run the main campaign, but there's a lot of the things that you guys are supporting, correct?
Yes, and thank you. That's actually one of our stories that we love to tell, because the ICCA Congress, when we actually bid the first time, we lost. And that was for the 2020 Congress. And then we bid again as a destination. And what I like to bring to the table first is also to sort of recognize the role of venues as key players in promoting destinations and positioning destinations. For example, Cartagena de Indias is not the capital of Colombia, but the city itself has spearheaded Colombia's promotional campaign for decades in the international space. Actually, our venue is over 40 years old, so still competitive. And here we are, 13 years after Grupo Heroica took over the management for the center, but it's actually a national asset. It's not owned by the city. It's actually owned by the national government. So it has been a key player in promoting also Colombia and Cartagena de Indias as a meeting destination since 1982. That's why it was built for. It was purposely built to generate kind of a hub for social and economic development in the city, but also to position Cartagena de Indias and Colombia as a main destinations in the meetings industry in the whole region. We actually hold, I think we are the venue, besides hotels, we are the main convention center that holds most of the ICCA congresses that is not a capital city and conventions in the region, actually. So in the bidding competitions or in the bidding aspects for international meetings, Cartagena has a value proposition that has been very strong for years now, and that allows us to remain competitive. Also to tell our own stories. What makes us different, right? And I think that goes back to the basics that we were talking earlier before joining, and it's, well, when we talk about storytelling or crafting our own story, first of all, we have to do, right? You have to do in order to tell. So how do we start crafting those messages? What do we talk about? What do we talk about that it's so different that another destination cannot talk about? What makes our venues different from other venues that perhaps you're looking into that gives us a competitive edge? And going into the how-to kind of aspect of our talk, we do sort of run like internal workshops to understand, okay, what's our value proposition? And a key takeaway from this is not a value proposition for the operating or management company, or what do we think as Diana or as a person, is who's our target audience? Who is this catered to? Who are we talking to? Are we talking in English? Are we talking in Spanish? Both? You sort of have to also understand that market. And I think that's also very important. And going back to the marketing basics is, okay, who's our target audience? What do we want to achieve? And so that after we start crafting that narrative to kind of highlight those things that make us different. For example, when we bid for the ICCA Congress, it was also a push from the whole region, and that was amazing. it was not only Cartagena, the Indias, as you know, as a bid, but it was Latin America, and Latin America was also bidding for the ICA Congress, and that was great. We, as you all know, we had to pivot from expecting over 1,000 delegates in Cartagena, the Indias, in 2021 to a hybrid Congress. And we had 7 hubs at that time around the world, and then the main stage in Cartagena with less than 300 people here. It was a difficult time, but then how did we use social media? How did we use online assets to actually portray what we were trying to do? So, and I'll take 1 more minute. From 2016 was the first kind of expressive interest for that ICA Congress. But then as a venue and as a city and as a country, what did we do? Colombia had a branding campaign. And even though we were pushing Cartagena de Indias, we had to run together with those attributes from the Colombia campaign back in 2016. And then when it changed in 2018, where we actually bid in Dubai, we had a new campaign from the country. So what we found was the graphics, the messaging, we kind of aligned everything so that we were all talking the same language. The key messages were aligned: country, city, venue, in order to portray a comprehensive, a coherent kind of voice of, okay, this is what you can expect when you land in Bogota, because you don't usually land in Cartagena for global events. We have a few international connections that connect us to the world, but a lot of the hubs from Panama and Bogota connect to the city. So when you land in another city and then you arrive in Cartagena, you find all the messaging and the sounds and the colors, and it's coherent, right? And we also had a couple of digital spaces to launch the Congress. We had to do it online. Actually, we had a champeta class. Champeta is a typical rhythm. We had an activation during the online ICA Congress in 2020. We had some stuff that, so all these activities from the traditional and online space, we were also talking about that earlier, come together when you're trying to portray a message that has to be coherent, that then, you're talking about something that you can actually see and do and experience when you arrive at the destination. So that coherent branding from country to city to venue is very important.
Well, thanks so much, Diana. Because I think it's actually great that you're using the bidding on ICA Congress as an example, because I think that actually really helped on today's call. Because I think Carol's story is more about how the destination can attract general business from a business perspective, but yours is actually also very practical, which I believe many of the destination the audience today will be appreciated, is how to using digital storytelling to support their bidding process, right? And I think that's actually a really good case. Just bringing back a little bit on your talk, like you kind of sharing about a cohesive message, collaborate not just with Cartagena but with other part of the stakeholder, bringing that whole Latin region together. Can we bring it back to kind of, so who for this strategy, who is the target audience? Is the target audience for the strategy you just mentioned about building
for the bidding?
Yeah.
For the bidding, in this case, was ICA members and the ICA community around the world and most of them had never been to Cartagena. I mean,
Okay.
The Latin American region, or still haven't been, because we didn't get 100%, live audience here. But it was catered so that people knew, where is Cartagena, what Cartagena is about. Here's Andres mentioning that he remembers the experience from the World Congress in Cartagena. So we had, during the Digital ICA Congress, we had that online. We had, a 1, 2, 3 step kind of champeta class. But then when you arrived in Cartagena, our second night, you had the champeta here, and we had that as a social event. So we go from the online space to the real space, and to actually experience that. When you bring your culture into the events themselves, whether it's online or offline, that omni-channel kind of stories make sense. They kind of connect. I was like, oh, that's right. I saw that before, but now I get to dance it here and feel the rhythm. But it's that sort of, it connects with people and they become eventually also brand advocates. And this is what we also want to achieve. If you had that experience, that you actually become an ambassador for the destination, and then you can talk from experience. Because what we've also learned is that, I can say, we're a gold standard AIPC venue and we have a beautiful building on the Cartagena Bay. But if somebody else tells a story about the city, about the country, about their experience at a particular event or one venue or a person at a venue, how they felt, it's a lot more powerful than just us telling our own story.
So Diana, thanks so much for expanding on that. Like, yes, so kind of bringing back to this is, so it seems like the core target audience are those who never been to Cartagena's or never been to Latin America. And I actually find this is actually a very common, which is very unique. I personally find this is a very common practice I find with a lot of the bidding from Latin America, which, because a couple of years ago I was involved with a different congress, and actually Medellin in Colombia was the bidding destination, and this is exactly the strategy they are using, which is not coming to Medellin, is coming to Latin America, and then they rally around literally the entire continent, different country to be supporting that bidding. And I personally didn't find that quite common at the other region. I don't feel much of the North America destination using that. To be honest, I think in North America it's more a friendly competition. And I didn't see that, obviously not that much in Europe and not that much in Asia. So Diana, just can we expand a little bit on so let's back to the ICA bidding example. Is it the strategy to rally around Latin America together, a strategy just naturally involved? Or this is something that actually, when you guys showing your interest, Pro-Colombia actually stepping and say, we should do this and here's our support?
We actually, the expression of interest came from the venue at first to the Commission Bureau and then to Pro-Colombia, so that we could all go together. It was a team effort from the public and the private side, for sure. And it was a strategy, because we understood what ICA wanted to do from their strategic plan. And this is, you can extrapolate this to any association. What does the association want to achieve in your region, in your city, right? And ICA wanted, first of all, you had a lot of Latin American members at the time. So the Latin America region was one of the fastest growing regions for ICA at the moment, where we were doing our bidding. So we knew it was important to the association for their footprint in the region as a global association. And we pushed that forward. This is a window to Latin America. Yes, you're holding your event in Cartagena de Indias, Colombia, but it's a window to our region. And once you're here, you'll discover not only the country Colombia or Cartagena, but then you get to see that this whole region is full of professionals and good opportunities for business as well. So I think it has to do a lot with understanding, again, who your target audience is. What does this association, in this case, wanted to achieve that you could actually bring to the table?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we have Carolina from Rio in the comments, sharing the love to you, Diana. And also Alice from Toronto just kind of echoed the comments, right? It's actually always good to have someone else to share their experience on behalf of you. That I think this is definitely something a lot of the destination everyone can learn from. So I would like to kind of bring the discussion now into a little bit different direction to talk a little bit more about execution part. So maybe we can bring it back to Carol. Just for your Find Your Miami campaigns. How do you guys actually the in terms for the channels and platforms? Which one is kind of the main focus when you decided to do this? Did you do any organic or pay? How important that your website actually play a role? Did you build a microsite, or you kind of leverage on kind of your existing site?
Thank you. So for this campaign, first of all, again, we needed to sit down as a team. We worked with an agency, we worked with our marketing department, with the sales department, myself, to determine who is it that we're really targeting? What is it that we're really targeting? What messaging? We want to make sure we're all on the same page. So what is it that we want to put forth out there? We have a lot of, just intelligence here in this destination that we want to make sure that the people that we're going after are aware of, as well as this marketing campaign. So what is it that we're trying to say? So again, for me, it was very important for us as the agency as well as my marketing department, to understand what is it that we want from this meetings and convention side, because that was first off. I think before it was a lot of leisure driven again, but what do I want? What am I trying to get out of this? What is my audience that we're going after? We had quite a few emerging markets. So looking at them, what did they need from the destination as to why they were wanting to come to Miami? And then for us now to make sure that we were leveraging that on all the markets. As far as platforms, of course, our website has been a big place for us of where we're putting a lot of our campaigns, but then also social media. We're bringing a lot of influencers to the city, as we talked about earlier. It's a lot of us going out and telling our story. I don't want anyone else, and I think Deanna mentioned that earlier, who best to tell our story but us? So a lot of that face-to-face, being everywhere that we can to make sure that we're spreading the message that we want you to know about Miami, not what you think you've heard or what you think you've read, but what's actually here. So we support that. We support that marketing campaign fully by just the verbal, us meeting with people and telling that story as well. And as far as platforms, we don't really use microsites, but we're all over everywhere. We're using it everywhere we can. We want to leverage it as much as possible, because again, how better to get the word out there once we're leveraging it, and then having some of our planners who participated in it tell that story through their social media channels, through their messaging any way they can.
Thanks, Carol. I will actually like now to answer one of the question from Algrado, and that is actually for both Carol and Deanna's. So, what is more important for you, advertising or PR? Mary, we'll start with Carol.
Yes, please. Thank you. So advertising, the paid advertising is a big deal for us. Again, everybody's on their phone right now, right? Everyone's on their computer. So it is the way that we are generating, and thank God that we have the availability to all these channels, but paid advertising is really big for us right now. Again, because we can, as well as any other channels that we can put forth that. But again, everyone's got this right here all the time. Correct. So I want to make sure that we're showing up wherever we can. If we're going to a trade show, how is it that we can get some of our paid advertising to pop up on the cell phones in front of the attendees that are there? And then that starts the conversation once we're all there together and gathering for this.
100%. And Deanna, like what's like for your ICA bidding example, which one is more important?
Well, when you understand that in that particular space, it's really strategic communications. Advertising and the mix of both depends on what the objective is, whether it's a particular campaign or a bidding. In the case of biddings, definitely the communication and the relationship management. You have to lobby and you have to know the people, because the only way you build trust and a meaningful connection is through talking to each other directly. We are convinced. So for me, it would be strategic communication.
Yeah, and then I think that's actually that's correct, right? Because I think both example are very different campaign that actually is a perfect sense for what you just described. Just a quick segue into the paid campaign. I just want to mention because actually before that, just want to mention just thanks Jose for joining us. I totally forget today is Halloween, so happy Halloween, everyone. And I think Jose had a question is how about using influencer to amplify your traditional channel? Actually, before we go that, I just want to kind of quickly talk about paid campaign because I don't know for those of you who are listening, I actually would suggest you take a look at the Facebook ad right now. Because I think we all understand, Instagram ad, linking ad, that it seems like kind of the key audience that we have so far. But something that to check it out from your team is Facebook has been quietly building an AI recommendation tool for ads, and it has been impressively effective on advertising. And so for those of you who think Facebook is outdated, I actually would suggest you check it out, especially when you need to run paid campaign. But just a kind of a quick segue here, but let's maybe bring back Jose's question on influencer, which I think that was actually one of the questions we had before is for Carol, for your campaign, did you leverage influencer? What's the process for you? And then later on, Diana, maybe we can talk about you. I bet your influencer will be a little bit different for the ECAP bit, but those are KOL is still influencer, right? So like, have you identified those well in the process? But maybe we can start with Carol.
Yes, I'll use two examples here. On our Bleacher side, we use influencers all the time. They're constantly streaming in and out of here. And again, that's great because they've established that trust and credibility with their followers, correct? So when they endorse it here, when they endorse Miami, it speaks volumes. People know that they're authentic, especially all of their followers. So yes, they have large bases. We want to be able to get to that base to make sure that those influencers are getting out there. And again, using that authentic nature that they have and how they influence people to either go to a destination, go to a restaurant, whatever that is. On the meeting side, we absolutely use influencers that are here locally. And I like to call it that asset intelligence that we have here when we're working on bids. We absolutely call in, whether it's a medical bid, whether we call in someone, a key physician from the local hospital here that has maybe even been on the board. We have a group here that we're bidding on. It's an international piece of business, as a matter of fact. And one of the doctors here was actually the board chair 10 years ago. So we pulled him into this bid process. Who better to tell the story? He lives here, right? And then he was the chair of the board of this organization. So when he heard that we were bidding on this for a future year, he absolutely wanted to be a part of it. Not only did he write a letter, but even as a doctor, he showed up to the site inspection just to greet the group and say hello and speak their language. Okay, so he can talk to them and meet them directly where they are. And that heavily influenced that bid in our direction. Just that, beyond what we could offer them here, just having him there to influence that decision was a big deal. And I consistently use that in our bid process now. Hey, take a look. Where can we pull in some of our technologies? We're huge here in tech. Where can we pull it in? So again, that's part of our bid process, part of my process, sitting down with the salespeople. Where can we pull in some local assets to this process?
Thanks, Carol. And before we go to Matthias' question, Dana, would you like to talk a little bit about the influencer part that you have been doing?
I agree. In the business-to-business space, when you're bidding, you definitely, for us, our main influencers are past clients that had a great experience. They actually become advocates for either the city or the venue or the whole destination itself. So we invite them as well to join in. As a venue, for example, with many business units, we do have a a gourmet restaurant that's on site, for example, for business to consumer strategies, you definitely want to bring in some, foodies, influencers, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Then you kind of define that strategy, and also depending on who's it targeted to, right? But we find that our clients and the excellent service that they had, or when they reach their objectives and they talk about it, that's the most influence that we can generate from that. And so that will be depending on whether you're in the business to business space or in the business to consumer space, pushing a business unit. It requires a different type of influencer, right?
100%. And kind of let's move on to the next question from Matthias. And Deanna, I would like to start with you. Is
Sure.
The question is how do you leverage the online community to be part of the strategy? So I think that kind of back to kind of for the campaign, right? Like, did you connecting the target audience so they can help you to amplify the message?
Yeah, I can give you an example that we actually do now for the venue. We do have a blog in our website that we update every month with a story that is told most of the time through somebody else's perspective, whether it's part of the, for example, an ICA member, or the person that recycles material, or depending on the story that we want to talk about. But having that blog as our own, kind of user-generated content has proven very good for us in achieving recognition, positioning, and also awareness. Mainly, I would say awareness of what a convention center does, or what is the impact of a venue in the middle of a historic city like Cartagena de Indias. There are a lot of things that you cannot see that happen behind the doors of a convention center when you have 1,000 people conference come in and out of a city. There's a lot of people, a social and economic impact that goes around that. How do we push, for example, the attributes of Cartagena, or the offer of Cartagena de Indias in its restaurants, in entertainment, beyond the square meters that you would find at any convention center, right? How do we bring that culture inside? And we tell those stories through our blog. I think a blog is actually the things that everybody knows that they have to do, but that not everybody does.
And Deanna, for your blog, did you enable comment section and encourage people to comment on it? That create that actual layer of the engagement?
See, and we also put that in our newsletter. So we have a newsletter that goes out every month, the last Thursday of every month, rain or shine, it goes out to our database. You're welcome to sign up on our website to our newsletter. We talk about our calendar. We also have a main story that we talk about, whether it's from one of our clients from a legacy perspective, or whether it's something that was recognized from the city to a particular initiative. We try to push forward things that are not only, again, talking about ourselves, but rather somebody else talking about things that were of value to them. We all have different types of stakeholders. So you have people that are participating in events, but then you have event organizers, but then you have exhibitors that are actually exhibiting their brands in a city that perhaps they've never been to. So how do we help them from like the exhibitor's office, and how do we showcase what you can do in a city like Cartagena if you're coming, I don't know, from Texas to exhibit at an event in Cartagena? Where do you start to know all this information about the city? And we're definitely one of those sources as a venue.
So, Xenia, I would like to ask you to put the Cartagena's website in the bottom right now, so for everyone to sign up their newsletter. And this is actually a good kind of also, again, kind of a recap takeaway here is, like what Deanna said, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of everyone is doing it, but sometimes just need a reminder is, in order to engage with your online communities, so for them to be organically engaged with you, it's actually make sure you have the same message pushing from different fronts, right? So you have them on the blog, you're including that in the newsletter, and I'm pretty sure, Diana, you guys probably also segment it
It's on
into
social
different
media as
social
well.
media. Exactly, right? And for that same message, you can also repeat that a couple times. They don't need to be just one post and you move on. It should be one post, but then
And if you
redo
allow me,
them
Sean, I
multiple
think
times.
a key takeaway from that, from the how-to, I'm trying to get back to that, how-to is, it's very important to understand how the voice should be in the different channels. It's not only to post the same message across the board, but understand the audience that is in that, community, whether it's Instagram or your website or your newsletter, who's actually behind there, right? And how do you talk to that audience? And then how do you do that omni-channel kind of, you maintain your voice as a brand, but you really have different tones in the conversations depending in which channels you do it. So
100%. And thanks so much, Diana, for sharing that. That is super important. Carol, I also want to bring this question back to you on the online community front. I think we all are fairly familiar with how the leisure side of the online, the power of the online community. But so my question here is, for this campaign, are you guys able to successfully also direct that conversation into the business side and somehow encourage them to help enhance, let's say, some of the bidding or even like prospect?
Of course. And one thing with the online strategy, I just need to say right up front, it is so important to strengthen and definitely manage that online community. And so we are in constant, we look at the comments, we see what people are saying, and then we're on all of these social channels, and we're able to really manage that process and how we're engaging with these people that are making the comments. So we're providing them with those types of resources, which is very important to do as well to assist. We want to make sure we're building brand loyalty, right? Correct. That's what we all want to do. And so we have to make sure that we are crafting our responses back to them, making sure, again, that we are providing the resources that they're looking for in that online community. So yes, again, to answer your question, yes, we will use those platforms to help with our bidding process on that side. And again, yes, we reach out to clients all the time to say, hey, talk to us about, if this campaign spoke to you and why it spoke to you, and then getting, whether it's quotes that we get for them or putting them directly in contact with those key individuals. We also work very closely with our convention center to make sure that their branding and their messaging is absolutely the same as ours, because we are responsible for booking that convention center. So what is their messaging? What are they saying to, their internal short-term business, making sure it's the same thing that we're saying to our long-term business.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Carol. I know that we are probably closer to the 10 minutes mark. So if there's anyone have any last minute question that you haven't asked, now will be the time before we wrap up. So I would like to ask this question, which is to both, and maybe we can start with Carol as well. Is have you so for all those campaigns? How do you guys engage with your sales team? Or are they solely lay on the marketing team and then the sales team just be aware of? But if they are engaged, are you guys providing any tools to support it?
Absolutely. So we engage the entire team in these campaigns. So we meet with the marketing team. We kind of, brainstorm on what we want to see. Before that, I'm talking to the sales team. What are you hearing out there? When you're at your missions, when you're at your trade shows, what are you hearing that the clients want and need to see? Again, there's a lot of rebranding being done here in this destination, so a lot of questions. And so then we take that back and we talk to marketing. We talk to our media team that we work with, my media agency, because again, it is so important for them to understand the message that we're trying to convey out there. And so once that final product is put together, then the salespeople are trained on that tool and how they are to go out there and speak. Because a lot of times you will see a campaign that'll roll out and nobody is explaining to the department how they should be using this campaign. So they see the pretty pictures and they see us, make our trade show booths. We will incorporate them a lot of times, our new messaging and our new campaigns in our trade show booths. But then we equip not only our sales team, but our partners. If we're taking partners with us, we talk to them about what this campaign means to the destination. So yes, you're going individually selling your hotel in conjunction with us at IMEX, for instance. But what does this entire campaign mean to the destination? And that's how we want you to speak to it as well. So the training is consistent about the messaging, because if we can't speak our own language and again, brand ourselves and tell that story, how are we supposed to be out there as an entire destination doing it? So we have to make sure that everyone is completely aware. And if there's a campaign that someone doesn't understand, you bet that we're looking at it going, this is not resonating the way it should. This isn't what we want to put forth. So let's tweak it. Let's figure it out. Because one campaign, I may use one of Find Your Miami, we have a symposium. I might not use that for a particular trade show that we may go to, but I may use it for another trade show that it might resonate well with, like incentive. I can use one for incentive that I might not be able to use for a traditional association convention. You follow me? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, thanks so much. And I think that makes totally sense. Deanna, anything you would like to leverage on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sales and marketing are sort of intertwined forever. There's no way that they can go out on their own and do that. So definitely you've got your sales team on the ground. Marketing is also on the ground on the digital space, right? Because we can hear both at trade shows, but also on the digital space. It's very important that we get feedback, constant feedback of what the perceptions are. How are we portraying ourselves? Are we reaching that objective, whichever that objective might be? So definitely together, the entire team is briefed, and then the rollout we do together. And again, you design messaging for the different channels, whether it's social media for some, we create different formats because you can't really communicate the same way in all the channels. So you have those for the direct sales, you've got your salesperson doing that bidding with a beautiful presentation that, kind of summarizes everything that you want to do. But then you also have those tidbits that you show on social media, or even like TikTok lately. We're not a lot of us are used to that TikTok, but then it's really important for that, kind of generational, different generations that are actually on our meeting space. We have teams that have been doing this for a really long time, but then again, we have team members that are younger and that are only starting. So how do we talk to everybody? I mean, we're messaging kind of the depth of our messaging is the same. We're talking about the same things, but how we talk about it and in which phase, I think it becomes key. And also that sales and marketing are always working together for the same purpose.
I think in here, it's kind of, again, like one thing kind of taking away from just this part is actually when we talk about a successful storytelling, it's not about you telling the story. It's actually a both way, right? It's from both Carol and Deanna. The key for me from this is actually they both can craft a very successful storytelling strategy or campaign. It was actually based on the feedback they received. It was based on the active listening from both the sales team on the ground, but also the marketing team actively listening from the digital channel on how everyone's talking about. And I think that is actually the key here. I think a lot of the time that when we crafting a marketing strategy or campaign or sales strategy and campaign, sometimes we might too focusing on our own objective, right? But at the same time, we forget that the whole reason was actually the receiver ends. And I think both kind of leverage that very well. Just cautions on the time. I would like to probably wrapping up on this conversation. It seems like we can keep going. There's still a lot of the questions we haven't touched, but that's actually a good way that we save into the next episode. But I would like to wrap it up and kind of ask both Carol and Deanna kind of just sharing some final thoughts on this, but also like what do you feel the audience, other ecom member that can learn from your experience? Are there anything that it was a surprise for you during the process that you feel you would like to know before? And now like those kind of like learning moments would be really great to share with the audience. And after that, we'll definitely pass the message to Deanna. But Carol, would you like to start first?
Sure. I think for me, key takeaways are branding is everything. Branding is everything. Storytelling, but not only storytelling, but I like to say rich storytelling is everything. And knowing what is out there about your destination, and then you telling that story about what you really want everyone out there else to know. Whoever your target markets are, what is it you want them to know? I love the fact that, again, this digital marketing presence now, which we didn't have many, many, many years ago, but I'm loving the fact that we are able to just make something fun, make it exciting for the reader, for the person. Like you said, you were talking about TikTok, and it is a different generation coming in now, and making sure that we are putting forth what they want to see, and then it translates and transcends among our entire community. So for me, the takeaway has absolutely been, it is very important to use the resources that you have. And listening to Deanna on some of her things, we're pretty much saying the same thing, but influencers are so important, whoever those influencers are, whether they're local assets, which people definitely want to hear about, but then really knowing your target audience. That's a big thing these days. Know who's on your website and where they're looking. And making sure that we're targeting answering any of those questions that I want to make it user friendly. When they're going there, I want to make sure that they're finding what they need, and then us pulling it all together to say, people are spending a lot of time here. Maybe we need to focus some of our campaign efforts in this direction, because this is where they're focusing. And then building that campaign around it. And again, I'm finding, it's funny because these campaigns really do work. They really do work. And so just continuing to leverage that and being new and fresh and not letting it get stale. So for me, those are some of my key takeaways and points that I would love to share. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Carol. Deanna?
Yeah, thank you, Carol. I would have to say that a main recommendation would be have a strategy. You have to set out a goal. You have to set out, what you want to achieve, and then pave the way in how you want to achieve it. I mean, I know it sounds like, okay, that's everybody does it, but I've found in many years working that you don't find that often, that you really have a strategy and you stick to it, and that you actually have objectives and then compare yourself to it, whether you're a big destination or a venue or a smaller company. Stick to your strategy and your goals and measure it. Analyze the data wherever that space might be for you. And for us, or for me, it is also, again, do and tell, walk that talk. I mean, if you're doing something, you can craft your narrative and tell the story from what you do, right? But not just say things to just for saying it, walk the talk, have that evidence, show what you're doing, and have somebody else tell that story for you. I think that's very important in our space. Know your stakeholders, what motivates them. Define those personas for your digital space. For example, we didn't talk about that, but that's something that's very important in defining your target audience. How do they behave? What is their expectation? A lot of ours, for example, a lot of our clients or the people that do business with us, they want recognition.
Yeah.
Whether it is to be associated with a venue that has accolades and prizes or recognition, just having their event here, it gives them also a sense of, okay, this is where I want to hold my event because my association is very important and this is an important space, for example. Or if this is the city that has the top, most of the major international events are held here, then I want my event there. Why would I go somewhere else? Kind of what is important for your audience, for that audience that you're trying to captivate and definitely engage. It's a dialogue, it's a conversation, and that's the most difficult, but that can also be achieved through strategy and having objectives that are measurable. That discipline is very important.
Well, so I think, Diana, that was just amazing wrapping up right here, that as a closing. So thank you so much for sharing that, and Alex, thanks for the kind word for both Carol and Diana. Diana. And it just this is a great wrap up, and I would like to bring in Xenia back to the call. I know this is the first how-to series. So for those of who are watching this, thank you so much. And if there are any of the other topic on how to you will like to learn or would like to share, please just let Xenia know, and I believe she would love to hear those.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Sean, Diana, and Carol for a great session. And I think you've started your own how-to series on online communities and digital marketing. We could go on and have a whole monthly chat about this. But for anybody who wants to let us know of what topics are of interest or be a guest on one of our future episodes, please feel free to email me. And just wanted to stream in again the two websites for Greater Miami and for Cartagena. They are streaming in now. So if you want to find out more about one or both of those, please feel free to reach out to both Carol or Diana. Thank you so much. I want to wrap it up. It was a full, packed hour, and I truly appreciate you for joining us today, and appreciate also the audience for being engaged and listening in for a full hour, which I thought we would not need, but it was a great conversation. Thank you, everybody.
Gracias.
Thanks for joining.